Welcome back to the second part of our session today, and today is the 26th of August 2026. This is the fifth session of our seminar, and we are dealing with the book Civility, A Cultural History, chapter 7 and 8. And now would be the turn for Lidia to present this chapter 8, and then we'll follow, or actually we'll continue the discussion that we started at the end of the presentation by Franklin. So, Lidia, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. I prepared presentation, and I would like ask Sian to share of my presentation, if it's possible. Okay, yes, everything is okay. At first, thank you very much, Franklin, for your presentation. I really enjoy it, and congratulations on such an interesting talk. My task today is to present chapter 8, which focuses on American experience and the transformation of civility in American society. I have to admit that was not easy chapter to prepare, mainly because it is extremely rich of ideas, examples, and historical references. My biggest challenge was decide what to include and what to leave out in my presentation. In 20-minute presentation. So from the very beginning, I would strongly encourage you to read the whole chapter, because I think it offers a very interesting perspective on the social and culture transformation of American society. What I will try to do today is not summarize everything what the Davetian discussed, but to focus several key problems that, in my view, help us understand his main argument about changing a meaning of civility. It's my task. Next page, please. Okay. The first thing is what I want to describe you is the problem of late modern civility. In chapter 8, author looks at the rise of the late modern American self, yes, the ideal of the self. His subject is not simply good or bad manners. He uses civility as a way to study a large change, the changing relation between the individual and social rules in American society. In the United States, this change grows out of the older tensions, yes, the older one. American culture values self-reliance, freedom, mobility, and non-conformity. At the same time, it also has a strong tradition of religious discipline, community duties, and self-control. Late modernity makes this tension stronger, and it's the start point to start describe this really strong transformation. We are expected to be independent and authentic, but social life still needs cooperation, predictable behavior, and the limits. The Franklin mentioned about that. So I do not read this chapter as a simple story about the decline of manners, because it isn't a good point. I read it's a story about changing foundations of civility. Yes, the author used civility to describe history of transformation in American society. Each gain in freedom creates a new problem. Freedom from hierarchy raises the question of legitimate restraint. Emotional freedom raises the question of care for others. Freedom from fixed roles brings constant negotiation, and more individual rights raise the question of responsibility and social cohesion. The center question from introduction is, how can society protect individual freedom and authenticity while keeping the restraint needed for social cooperation? Next page, please. The author first shows that civility is not universal list of polite behaviors. The meaning of behavior depends on culture, and who mentioned a few minutes ago about it. The same tone of voice, gesture, or level of emotional expression may be normal in one society, but rude in another, and it's the fact. Civility, therefore, depends on shared expectations and learned habits. This leads to the first tension, authenticity versus politeness. In a culture that values authenticity, polite behavior can look false or hypocritical. Yes, thank you. A rude person may even seem more honest, but the author reminds us that the social convention can still be useful even when it does not show our true feelings. I may dislike someone and still treat the person with respect. You see, I hope on the page. Civility creates a useful distance between private feelings and public behavior. Rights make the problem more complex. Rights protected the people from powerful institutions and help groups challenge injustice. But if rights are separate from responsibility, social relations may become more defensive and confrontational. At the same time, author reject nostalgia. All the rules gave people stability and clear expectation, but they could also support hierarchy and exclusion. We mentioned about it last week. A very polite society can still be unfair or oppressive. So the answer is not simply people should have better manner, and it's the manners, and it's the problem which we have now, yes, in Western society. We must also ask how institution and social relations shape our behavior. The questions changes from how should people behave to what kind of society makes civil relations possible. And I think it's the crucial question about conditions, our social conditions and political conditions. Next pages, please. The next stop is to explain why conformity itself became morality suspicions. The author does not say that the 20th century was simply less civil. Yes, it's the element of nostalgia. Yes, we know that somewhere in our history, history was better, and we are the better in the past. it was a century of terrible violence, of course, in 20th century, but also of human rights, yes, dignity, equality, and social justice. We may notice more in civility today, partly because we are better able to see forms of injustice that earlier societies accepted as a normal. Yes, the 1916s are a very important moment, and all, maybe not the all, but huge part of this chapter is a story about 1916's revolution. Yes. Protest movements challenge racial hierarchy, gender inequality, authoritarianism, and old ideas of proper behavior. This creates a central paradox. Yes, we have in this book a lot of paradox, and it's brilliant. Yes, to see how it's really difficult to deal with our history and find the answer why we have what we have. Yes. This creates a central paradox, sometimes in civility toward an unjust order can help build a more civil society. Yes, and we see here we shouldn't think that civility are only like opponents. Yes, they can support themselves, and 1916s showed us that it happened and it's possible. If a convention supports domination, following it's not automatically moral good. This also complicates Elias' story. More self-control does not always mean more moral civilization. A society may be very disciplined and formally polite and still be cruel. So civility cannot mean behavioral control alone. And I choose one example. I hope that you know this movie is Quentin Tarantino's movie, Django. And I would like say something about the part of this film which connected with Candyland. Yes, the big farm, some guy. The Candyland is full of manners, titles, hospitality, and rules of deferences. But these rules exist inside slavery. The film shows through irony that courtesy can make domination look civilized. In Django, the handshake becomes a powerful symbol of the conflict between civility and domination. A handshake normally suggests equality, symbol of the conflict. Symbol of the conflict between civility and domination. Handshake normally suggests equality, mutual respect, and recognition between two people. It's standard, and I think it's the standard for us today too. But when Calvin Candy demands that Dr. Schutz shake his hand, the gesture is not longer freely offered. It becomes an act of submission to the social order Candy represents. Schutz refuses, even to his refusal breaks and expected rules of polite behavior. The scene therefore captures author paradox perfectly. Sometimes refusing a civil gesture may express a deeper commitment to equality and human dignity. Refusing deference may look uncivil inside the system, but it can express a deeper demand for equality. From there, author moves to the oppositional self. The question, which rules are unjust, slowly connects with another question. Which rules stop me from being myself? Non-conformity begins to carry a positive moral value. Next page, please. The critic of conformity then moves inside the person. Yes, it's the step. Author asks about the emotional cost of civility. As because everything gave us some cost. Elias shows how external rules become internal self-control. The author adds a harder question here. Can this process also create repression, anxiety, or distance from our own emotion? A society may become more orderly without becoming emotionally healthier. The therapeutic moment, including plays such as asylum, promotes a different view of the body and emotions. Emotional expression becomes linked with growth, self-discovery, and the authentic self. Asylum was not a person, but an institute in California associated with the Human Potential Movement. It promoted personal growth, emotional expression, and a more authentic relationship with one's own body and feelings. For the author, it illustrates the culture shift from conformity and self-control toward self-expression and authenticity. This creates a strong conflict. Again, we still have some paradox and conflict here. Conflict between courtesy and authenticity. Courtesy asks me to think about the comfort of another person. Authenticity asks me to be faithful to my own feelings. If I hide my anger, so I do not hurt you, but am I civil or dishonest? If I say exactly what I feel, am I authentic or simply making you pay the price for my authenticity? A useful distinction is between emotional restraint and emotional denial. I can know that I'm angry and still choose not to express it. That is regulation. Denial means that I cannot even recognize the feelings, my feeling. Civility does not have to require denial. It may require judgment about when and how to express emotions. Finally, the idea of authenticity is absorbed by consumer culture. Who mentions about that? The old command was conform. The new command becomes be yourself, express yourself, fulfill yourself. Even individuality can become a social expectation. Yes, and this philosophy of be yourself was consumed by marketing, public relations, and this philosophy today as product, yes, which we can sell somebody, yes, and the people we live in the consumerism society, and the huge of all wanted to be the part of this culture of be yourself, and treat this philosophy like a product. Next page, please. Once the authentic self becomes more important, social relations must change. The author sees this even in ethic books. They begin to discuss not only dress and table manners, but also self-esteem, loneliness, relationships, and personal growth. The main questions moves from what is expected of me to what do I want to be? Yes, and it's it's a new step in this history. This is especially clear in family and intimate relations. Traditional roles gave clear answer about how parents, children, husbands, and wives should behave. These roles were often unequal, so their decline was an important gain. But the end of fixed roles does not mean the end of regulation. Regulation moves into negotiation. Giddens' idea of the pure relationship captures this change. A relationship is increasingly justified by the meaning and satisfaction it gives to the people involved, not only the extremal duty. The paradox is that more informality does not necessarily make relationship easier. Instead of following a fixed code, people must interpret themselves and others, talk about needs, and negotiate boundaries. The burden of regulation moves from social rules to individuals. Author also stressed that norms remain open to change, yes, and it's new part of this revolution. This allows criticism and reform, but civility still needs some stability. If every rule is always negotiable, people may not know what others expect from them. Deformalization does not create a world without norms. It creates new norms. Next page, please. The final transformation concerns rights, identity, recognition, and what authors calls a culture of entitlement. Self-actualization original means serious work on oneself. But when this language spreads through society, the focus may move from what do I owe to others to what do I need in order to fulfill myself. Author does not reject individual needs. This recognition was necessary from many groups that had been expected to sacrifice themselves for another's. The risk begins when self-recognition is separate from recognition of another people. Yes, I think it's the main problem today. This is why mutual recognition may become a new basic for civility. Traditional civility often worked through hierarchy, defense, and restraint. Democratic civility has to work more through equality, recognition, and restraint. The restraint remains, but the reason changes. I limit myself not because other person has a higher rank than me, but because the person's dignity, rights, identity, and well-being matter. Charles Taylor helps the author explain why recognition can become a new basic for democratic civility. For Taylor, recognition is not simply a matter of politeness. Yes, I think it's obvious for everyone. It's closely connected with identity, dignity, and the way people understand themselves. Misrecognition can therefore be harmful because it may reduce people to stereotypies, deny their equal status, or make their sociality invisible. In this sense, democratic civility should not rely on deference to hierarchy, but on recognizing others as equal participants whose identities and rights matter. This also explains that central risk of entitlement. Self-recognition becomes problematic when it's separate from the recognition of others. Habermas helps the author too here. A liberal democracy cannot assume that everyone shares one moral view and one vision of the good, but it can build conditions for free communication, equal participation, democratic conflict resolution, and the limits on power. Civility can then be understood a practice of living together while disagreeing. There is also a problem of speed. Social norms need time to become familiar habits, yes? But the late modern society changes very quickly. Old norms may lose authority before new ones become stable. Incivility may therefore be a sign of transition, not only moral decline. This leads to a simple but important idea. Pluralistic societies do not need full agreement about the good life. They need fair ways to disagree, and it's strong connected with civility. Civility is therefore not the absence of conflict. It's a way of keeping conflict within a social relationship. This requires free communication, equal participation, mutual respect, and rules that protect people from domination. In this sense, civility becomes a practice of coexistence among people who may really strongly disagree. And the last page, please. This chapter is not a story in which Americans were once civil and later become uncivil. The history is more complex. I try to show this. Traditional rules created order, predictability, and cohesion, but they could also support hierarchy, repression, and exclusion. Their decline created more autonomy, equality, authenticity, recognition, and rights, but also new uncertainty, weaker shared expectation, entitlement, and possible fragmentation. The distinction between individual freedom and communal freedom helps bring the argument together. Individual freedom protects people from too much social pressure and allows them to shape their own lives. Communal freedom requires enough trust, cohesion, and restraint from collective life to continue. This is also the meaning of author's phrase, the right to be discourteous. It's not simply the right to be rude. It is the right to reject inherited conventions when they support inequality of limit basic freedom and dignity. But emancipation does not remove the need for civility. It changes its basis. The key movements is from a tradition, hierarchy, conformity, and restraint toward equality, recognition, reciprocity, and restraint. The issue is not longer only whether we control ourselves, but why we do so. Modern democratic civility does not eliminate restraint. It changes the reason for restraint. And I think we should understand that, and everybody should understand it. And it's what I prepared for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lidia.